got wet neck.
Hello, hello. Alex, what were you saying?
Yeah, I'm soaked, but I'm all right. I
All
switched
right.
into my Elementor t-shirt. It's dry. It's fine.
Very good. All right, welcome everyone. Today, this is the Niche Lifestyle Show, and we're taking it all the way to the wire. We're not even ready when we hit go, but hopefully you could hear us. Hopefully everybody could hear us out there. Let us know in the chat. We got a nice crew already. Today, the topic is growing a site, which I think, once you get a site rolling and you're earning a little bit of money, this is the next question. Like, how do I grow it? How do I take it to the next level here? How do I go like a level up? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Of course, we have the regular crew, and we'll just kind of go around and get a little update from everybody in just a second. We do have a lot of people in the audience, so I'm just going to give a couple shout outs. John, we got Daniel, we have Adrian, Mark, Sue, all the usual suspects, Stuart, and we're going to, say hello to everyone along the way. So if you have questions, be sure to ask. And if you're watching the replay, we love it. Leave a comment and let us know you watched the replay. All right, Alex, what's happening?
Yeah.
How's the week?
Going well. Yeah, nothing to complain. I still got an echoey room. I do apologise. We've ordered a bed for my daughter, so that should hopefully dampen a bit of the sound.
Yeah.
But yeah, all good. Had a good week. Just putting some videos together on how to make some fantastic content. I'll give you a little preview on that. So when I'm doing keyword research, I don't know if you noticed this, but there'd be often a search term around a calculator. So an example for this was on the air purifier site that I set up. There were people looking for a calculator to work out how much energy an air purifier used. And also on my darts website, there's people searching for calculators for certain, dart score averages. And for my wheelbarrow site, there's people looking for a calculator around sack trucks. How much can a certain truck carry? So I think it's a great opportunity. So I'm putting a video together using the Gravity Forms plugin on how you can create a calculator for your content. So it's basically a great bit of content that people then keep coming back to because it's got a useful tool on it and, adds an extra level to your content rather than just images and text. Add a useful tool. So I think there's an opportunity there in probably most niches. I'm trying to put the two together. They're niches. And yeah, so that's the video. I'm working on that. And I've also got my video on the Hoff, which is I'm still working on that.
Quick one on the calculator one, because I've always found that interesting. I've never tried it, but I always thought Google is moving towards their own calculators because they do the basic stuff, right? You can type in 10 plus 10 into Google and it gives you the answer, and you can do like currency conversions. Do you see it going more that way? Like, is this do you think it's a long term thing?
I can't see Google doing like a darts averages calculator or how much can you put in a sack barrow calculator? I don't know. Maybe they will. Maybe eventually no one will ever visit any other website apart from Google because you'll just get it all there. It'll pull in snippets, it'll pull in tools, and you just won't have to ever click on any links.
Is there any like schema you need to add for calculators, or is anything like that, or you literally just embed the calculator on the page?
I haven't got that far yet. I should. It's just generally, it's just a clever form, and with plugins like Gravity Forms, they're so powerful in terms of the forms you can do with them. More than just, generally we just do a contact form, don't we? Just like name, email, message. But they can do some really cool stuff, these plugins. I remember doing a form for a client with Gravity Forms, and it was like a multi-page with conditional logic form based, I think it was for insurance or something. So depending on what people answered, then you'd show different fields. And you could do all that with
I've written some of those as well. I've done exactly the same thing for an insurance company.
People think like Gravity Forms is like expensive, but it's like $99 for a developer license. Maybe it's more, which is a lot if you're just going to use it for a contact form. But if you start kind of digging into the kind of stuff it can do, it's really cool.
I'm going to check that out because I've always shied. Like I said, I've looked at it, but I've always shied away thinking you need a developer to make you a calculator. I never thought about using.
Well, check the video. I'll get it up in the next few days, hopefully.
Very cool.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, they are useful for certain industries, but I think if you check your keyword research, you might find that people are searching for some sort of calculator within your niche.
And I think, like, aside from, I love the idea, Alex. I've never gotten into it, but it's a linkable thing. So people would share it in forums or a Facebook group. So forget about the Google traffic, or if Google is doing it, people will share it and they're like, oh yeah, there's this great resource, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, anything that's super useful always gets shared, doesn't it? That's the trick, isn't it, with content? If you can make it really useful, the kind of thing that people want to get back to and they want to share with people because it's just so good. And sometimes you can't achieve that with just words, can you? I see that Manoj says I'm promoting Elementor. Yeah, I do have the Elementor t-shirt. I also have the Elementor socks on. But I would say probably don't use Elementor. It does slow down your sight.
Do you coordinate your socks with your t-shirts usually?
It's coincidental, actually.
Okay, that's
I
great,
just got away a minute ago. I did have a WP Eagle t-shirt on, but then I just kind of grabbed something and it was the Elementor one. It's too much print, to be honest. On a hot day, if you've got a really printed t-shirt, it's not comfortable, is it?
That's right. Yeah. And I was going to say this one's it's like thin. It's not, because that one looks like more like thick.
It's kind of shiny and kind of thick, yeah.
Yeah. What about you guys? What kind of t-shirts do you have?
Niche website builder t-shirt. I see Adam is rocking the what is that? Green? Or is it got a special green? Yeah. Racing green, maybe British racing green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just go back to the calculators, because literally there's one for sale on Flipper right now. It's called Stock Joker, and it's one page. How much could you have made if you invested money for a certain date and time period? And it's getting this one page calculator, getting 35,000 page views per month.
Wow.
It's literally for sale on Flipper right now.
It's cool because it's kind of site that we don't think about. I always think about, Wheel of Names, which is the site we use for our giveaways. Yeah. Those kind of cool, quirky little tools, which are literally just one-page websites. How much traffic are they getting? They must be getting thousands because they're so cool and so useful, and people will share them and use them all the time and keep coming back.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of an area we don't think about, because we often think about, okay, you create a website, you just add articles, words and pictures. But if you could think of a really cool little tool or a little app, maybe that's the next step.
What's going on with you, Adam?
Oh, not too much. Went to see Craig David last week. I think I left everyone in anticipation for my Craig David update. He was awesome.
And we want a full review. How was it?
Spoiler, he was awesome. So much so we're already looking at tickets to go and see him again.
I didn't see any selfies though of you and Craig.
I know he said not to post them, so okay. Said not to post them online, so they're just for my private collection.
Yeah.
And we've got our company in-person team meetup on Friday. So every other month, everyone who's local within like an hour and a half radius gets together. So we've got about, I think, 85 people in our team meetup on Friday. So yeah, that's always exciting. That's fun to see everyone, get everyone together in the same room, do like some company updates and how we're moving forward and that kind of stuff. So just prepping and getting excited for that too.
Cool. That's awesome. 80 people. So is it, where do you hold it at? I mean, you have to it's like a little event. Yeah.
So we hire out like a place in a hotel, like a conference room in a hotel. And then they bring us some refreshments, and then we get lunch. And then usually there's a group of people that stay at the end and go for drinks afterwards. And we normally leave before it gets rowdy, but I think they stay. Some of them stay out and get drunk basically afterwards.
You leave some money behind the bar, of course.
Yeah, we buy the first couple of drinks. Yeah,
first couple. You don't want to commit to too much.
Well, Christmas we pay for the whole lot. So yeah, pay for the whole night. That's pricey.
There was a free bar at the Christmas party, and I think everyone took full.
We went for it.
Everyone was steep drunk. Yeah.
You obviously got a great team, of course. I think you'd be slightly disappointed if they didn't hit the free bar.
Yeah.
Mark, what's happening with you? Of course, you're planning for the team outing as well. But anything going on this week?
Yeah. So I remember I said I was feeling ill last week. I had COVID, turns out. So by Thursday last week, I was pretty rough. And I was going away on holiday from Friday to Monday. So that kind of made me feel ill pretty much for the whole of the weekend. But it was all right. I feel better now. Still testing positive, but feeling good compared to end of last week. But yeah, I ended up getting COVID. So that was fun. Went on holiday, as I say, though, or a long weekend to a country home. like on an estate down in like the West Country, in a place called near Taunton. So it's a National Trust place. I don't know if you know, but if you know, there's a show called Bridgerton. Do you have that in the US? You've seen it? It's on Netflix at the moment.
Yeah. You know, my wife watches that kind of stuff.
Yeah, my wife watched it too. I don't know, but my wife tells me like it's kind of like the place we stay was kind of like that, and like the manor house on there has been used in a lot of period dramas and stuff like that before in the past, I think. But there's other properties on this estate as well. And we was on one of these other properties, which are still big houses in their own right, like 6-bed houses and stuff. But it was on it was like on this estate really, with loads of like cut grounds and well kept and just in the middle of nowhere really. So it's quite nice. So I did that for Friday to Monday. Switched off for a little bit. Got over COVID.
Gotcha. And then are you when can you go out again? I mean, are you going to be able to go to the team event, or is that going to be like a super spreader event?
I'm hoping so. Yeah, because like the line on the tests has got fainter and fainter. And today I could barely see it. So
okay,
like I'm hoping that tomorrow I won't be able to see it at all. But today the line was
okay. It's
significantly faded.
It's like you're half pregnant.
Yeah. So hopefully, yeah. My plan is to travel to Cardiff tomorrow if all's good. I think I think it will be, because, like I say, if you didn't look with a magnifying glass, you wouldn't even notice the second line on the test today. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, and then for me, one cool thing, I went on a long hike the other day with a buddy of mine, actually the guy that I co-host Mile High Fi, my other podcast. So we hiked I think it was 12 miles and then got beers afterwards, but it was great. You know, you're not paying attention to your phone or emails or anything like that. Just out there hiking, and yeah, just down in Boulder. There's so many places to hike around here, and the weather is usually fantastic. So it's warming up just a bit, and it wasn't too windy. So yeah, great day hiking. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else super interesting. No, just springtime. So we're working on the yard a little bit, a couple things like that.
Nice.
All right. So the topic of today is growing a site, and I am interested for questions in the audience. So go ahead and start asking them. We do have some things to go over today, and we'll, do our normal roundtable stuff, but definitely want to hear, especially if you have specific questions in the chat, like maybe we can give specific advice when it's appropriate. So we'll go around. I'll send this over to Alex first, and we are looking at 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, but in a general sense, I'm curious if you believe, Alex, people are holding themselves back in some way, and if so, what is the barrier that's holding them back? And it could be, execution and their skill level, could be mindset, could be, something completely different. But I'm just curious if you think people are in their own way a little bit.
I think one of the main things that holds people back is indecision and the inability to start, even to get that first 100. I've had this a bit from a few viewers recently actually asking me questions like, should I choose the UK market, the US market? I've been thinking about this. I've been doing research. Just pick one and just do it. So I think kind of the inability to make a decision and actually move forward. And maybe it's fear. They want to try and make sure that they make the right decision. But of course, in this game, it's impossible to know what the right decision is on a lot of things. Sometimes you just have to do it and see what happens.
Nice. And then to piggyback on that, Mark, do you think, once people have got started and maybe they're actually publishing content, and actually we'll use an example. Someone has emailed me a few times over the past, I would say, year. So they're working on their site. They have about 200 articles is what they told me yesterday, and they're only earning about $15 a month. And there's some disconnect. So obviously I don't have any details. You don't have any details. But if you got an email like that, or you heard from one of your clients who's, trying, maybe a potential client, Mark, do you have any tips for them? Like, what should they look at if someone is hung up and they're making like $15 a month, but they've been working on it for like a year and a half? They're out of the sandbox. There's something going on.
Yeah, so I think I'll just ask them a lot of questions to start with. So, like, what's their monetization strategy at the moment? Like, where is that $15 coming from? Like, maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. How much traffic, of course, is going to be like critical to that? Like, okay, they've got 200 articles, but have they done the right? Are they written about the right stuff? Are they getting any traffic to that site, like, at all? That's probably going to be the biggest thing, I imagine. I imagine that they're not getting traffic to their site because they would be earning. It doesn't take much to earn $15 from ads. I mean, AdSense maybe, but in general, like anything better than AdSense, it doesn't take much traffic to earn more than $15. So I would suggest that that's probably where some of the issue lies in the content they've written, whether that's the structure of the content, the keyword research, the topics they've covered. Or have they done something which Google might take offense at? Have they done some kind of have they bought links in the early days, and Google's looking at that domain and thinking, I don't like that. I don't like what you're doing. Was it a new domain? Was it a age domain? There's a lot of questions to ask, I think, at that point. But I would say there's something wrong with. I would predict
there's definitely
they're not getting much traffic.
200 articles. Yeah, definitely something wrong. Something fundamentally wrong. Either the niche is wrong, or either there's some history on the domain that's not right. Something's happened in the past. I've got sites with less articles that I've done less work on in crappy niches that will earn more than that.
Yeah. And Adam, so do you have anything to add there? I don't have a specific question to layer on top there.
No, not really. I think like Mark said, Mark and Alex together pretty much covered that one off. I just feel like I'd be saying the same thing, cool. To be fair.
Well, and actually,
a bit of investigation.
Yeah.
And that's, usually the advice to be, usually if someone comes to me and I'm not able to like ask all those questions for whatever reason, they should find someone that has a little more experience. They don't have to be like someone like us, like a YouTube person or an agency or anything. It's just like someone that's like 6 months ahead and like knows a little bit more, like maybe they can uncover something. Now, Adam, if I remember right, you haven't started a site from scratch. You usually purchase sites, right?
No, so my main MO is purchasing sites, but I've built loads of sites over not last year, the year before. I built 12 sites from scratch. So
on Age Domains, though.
On Age Domains, but my main MO at the moment is buying, improving, and flipping.
Okay, gotcha. And just curious, because we're gonna launch into the going from 100 to 1,000. So I'll just ask it straight up. So if you bought a site and was earning like $100 a month, what steps would you take? And you could kind of lay these out in broad terms. But how would you take it? How would you 10x it from 100 to 1,000?
Sure. So, buying a site that's already making money and increasing the revenue is partly a different approach, I think, to like growing a site to $100. So if you're buying a site, the first thing like you want to do is just check if there are any quick wins that you can do to increase that $100. And that depends on on the monetization. So if it's an affiliate website, do they have clear call to actions? Do the buttons contrast with the main color of the website? Do the images link through to Amazon, for example? If they're using Amazon, are there better paying affiliate programs? Like, what are the quick wins on those affiliate pieces of content that you can improve? And I think that's like a playbook all in itself. Like, what does a good piece of affiliate content look like? What does good call to action look like? Is the post optimized to sell the product? They're not just saying the benefits of the features, but they're selling the benefits as well, that kind of thing. And if it's a display ad website, then I've talked on your channel a couple of times, Doug, about like the step-by-step specifics, but it's display ad optimization. So can you switch it from one ad network to a better ad network that typically pays more? Can you increase the font size? Can you increase the number of images on the page? Can you add more page breaks so more adverts show? Can you add a a sidebar with a sticky ad in there if it doesn't have one. So like they're the first things you should be looking at, is what are the quick wins that you can do to increase that $100. And then once you've exhausted those, then you move into kind of like the actual growing phase of growing the traffic rather than the revenue. Like you've maximized the revenue opportunity, and then you've got to increase traffic to get more. And like really, this is not rocket science. And I think this is applicable from growing a site from 100 to 1,000 and 1,000 to 10,000. You just need to make sure that you're then adding good quality content that goes after the right kind of keywords and link building. Like it. On paper, the business model sounds incredibly simple. Do those two things and you'll grow a site from 100 to 1,000 over a period of time. What determines how fast you go from 100 to 1,000 is how much and how good of a job you do those two things, I think.
Perfect. And actually, I'll kick it over to Alex here. Is there much of a difference from going to 100 to 1,000 to 1,000 to 10,000? Is it pretty much the same? Is this like that you could just rinse and repeat the same techniques that are working for you? What do you think?
I think it is. I think the hardest is the first 100. That's often the hardest, because that's setting up a site or it's buying an existing site. But generally, for a lot of people, it's going to be creating a new site. And that first 100 is the hardest. And then once you've done that, then it is just basically more of the same. In my experience, just adding more content. I've never built a site up to 10,000 a month. I think when I sold Best Roof Box, that was doing nearly 4,000 a month, so that's the highest I've got on that. But that was more of the same, and that was a great niche because it was easy to create lots of content that I knew was going to do well, because it was in cars. There's a lot of cars to write about, and you can literally kind of write the same sort of article about different makes and models of cars. So the best roof box for Honda Civic, best roof box for VW Golf. And I know, Adam, you like those kind of sites where you can create these kind of list kind of posts, or you can create this content. It's all very similar, but it all matches very specific long tail searches on Google, which are generally underserved. And I'm now looking for niches that kind of fit that criteria, where you can create lots of content, lots of very useful content about very specific things, where you've got lots of options to write about.
If you're looking for a new site, Alex, I'm just saying, on our Age Domain Tuesday yesterday, the domain that's on our website, one of the ones, literally like we did a deep dive into the keyword research, and it's all that kind of stuff. So it's an animal-based website, and the opportunity within like types of animals, types of spiders, types of ants, types of turtles, types of dolphins, types of sharks, types
animals
of tigers.
Beginning with A, B,
and then
C.
you've got animals beginning
I
with.
love those sites because the content, it just keeps coming. You just can think of it continuously. It's just
We found a website that was animals beginning with. They had like less than 100 pieces of content. They just covered animals beginning with A to Z, and according to Ahrefs, was getting 270,000 visits per month with just animals beginning with. And then we took that and we were like, okay, well, what about birds beginning with, and dogs beginning with, and cats beginning with? And very quickly you could see on that plan, like you could go forever.
You can scale that quickly and easily.
Yeah.
And sometimes you could combine the ideas. Phil has a great one, best roof box for a cat.
Yeah, mash up the pets with the roof boxes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, on that note, I mean, I don't know if any of you ever done this, but so when I had Best Roof Box, a guy tapped me up and he said, would you mind if I did a German version of the site? Just basically steal your idea, but do it in German. And I obviously had no plans at the time to do anything in German. I was like, yeah, do that. That's fine. So he basically did that, and he replicated what I did on bestroofbox.com, but did it all in German. He's now up to over 500 euros a month on Amazon. So I'm thinking, I've got some Spanish friends now. Maybe I could just create the Buena, I don't know what roof is in Spanish, Boche, I don't know what box is. So in Spanish, but have you ever kind of thought about moving as a way of scaling into different territories on an international level?
Yeah. I started testing it literally a couple of weeks back. So there was a site for sale on Motion Invest that I saw that was doing that. So they'd done a full English version, and then they started translating it into several languages. And I reached out to him and asked him how he was doing it. Was he doing it manually? And he was using a plugin. I bought the same plugin, bought the same solution. You had to get us an API subscription because it wasn't using Google Translate. It was using, I I can't remember what API it was, but you had to get a subscription, and then I set it to run on a site that I have, which has like 1,000 posts. Like it's almost like my test site. And I thought, I'll try it on here. It's got a good amount of posts. Even if I see a small bump in traffic, it should be good. And then I left it and assumed it was working. And I was looking in Search Console. I could see the number of pages index going up. I was like, this is great. This like /DE version and stuff. And then when I checked the pages, they're all still English. So like the /DE version is still in English. Yeah, well, I reached out to the plugin support and they were like, oh yeah, there's a conflict with something else on your site. We don't know what it is. Like you'd have to go through and disable them all. I was like, can't be asked. So I just turned the plugin off and I can see the pages de-indexing now. And I've been meaning to set it up on another site to try it, but yeah, that's my experience of
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's the best approach. I think personally it's better if you can find someone that you can work with who's in whatever country it is that you want to expand to, that they can kind of translate it manually, because just my experience just over here, for example, using Google Translate and translation apps, they're never right. There's so many nuances in the way that people say stuff and the kind of, especially even in different areas of certain countries, that it kind of misses that. So I think if you could find a German or a Frenchman or a Spaniard to kind of take your site and move it into those countries, that's probably the best way to do it. And I reckon, because we are so focused on the UK and US markets, there's so much opportunity in these other markets because they're like 5-10 years behind. I'd say maybe that's a little bit harsh, but just generally on a lot of things in Europe, they seem a little bit behind the US and the UK on a lot of things.
And the big thing, so I interviewed a guy named Nigel. It's probably been over a year, but he is Dutch, and I think he could speak Dutch and German and English and maybe something else. The thing is, the other Amazon associate programs have different commission structures, so they're paying like 10. It's a huge difference.
It's like the old days.
Difference. So he was translating stuff, and I think like under a year he was making like $12,000 a month or so. Like it was insane. And there's other non-Amazon e-commerce shops that you could work with that are bigger in other countries. So he was sort of splitting and had different options and stuff like that. But yeah, like you said, Alex, the competition's so much lower. It's a no-brainer. Yeah, so that's a huge
opportunity. Yeah, for sure. International expansion is a huge opportunity.
Okay, so back to the topic. Overall, it sounds like going from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000, roughly the same. Just keep doing more of the same. Mark, I'm curious, what mistakes do you see people make, or maybe bad advice out there? Maybe someone's actually, we could use sort of like Alex's example. Not that you were making any mistakes. I phrased that wrong. I'm sorry. But you're at $4,000 a month. You're like, all right, do I want to push this? Like, can I get it to $10,000 a month? So Mark, what mistakes might you see people make out there?
Well, I guess just to kind of add to the bit we were speaking about, like I think it is more of the same, but at some point the challenge becomes actually scaling that up. Unless you kind of want to do it yourself, do it all yourself and continue to do it all yourself. I guess it just takes more time. But at some point you kind of get to the point where you're earning enough per month where you kind of just want to reinvest some of the earnings instead of actually just sitting there doing it all yourself. I guess everyone's different. I think most people will get to the point where going, actually, I could pay someone to do this now. And I can get my time back, get my life back and scale it up. So the challenge then becomes like, if you want to scale it up and you want to build a portfolio of sites as well, then like, how do you kind of get around to doing that and having some good practices and procedures in place to like make sure that people are doing what they should be doing it the right way. And it's not just you doing it anymore. So you've got to make sure that they're doing it how you want it done. So I think that becomes a challenge at like some point. In terms of like mistakes, I mean, I don't think I could say there's any like mistakes at that specific level between like, I think if you've got to 4,000-5,000, you've probably got it mastered pretty much. You're probably doing a pretty decent job already. But mistakes in general, I guess.
I've got experience both good and bad, I think. Mark knows the story of a site that I put up for sale for, I think it was about 117,000 or something, and had an offer. And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was about like 106,000. We're about 10 grand away. And I was like, nope. And I was like, definitely not taking that. Like it's worth what I said. And the deal didn't come off. And by that point, I was kind of invested in that sell, and I was like, I can't even be bothered to sell this anymore. I'm just going to keep it. And about 5 months later, I got hit by a Google update, and I ended up selling the site for like 18 grand, like a couple of months later. But that's one of the things where I've sold. I didn't sell a site, and I wish I had. And then on the flip side, like the first site I ever sold, I think I've said this story loads of times. I sold it for like 60,000, and the guy openly told me he kept it for 3 months and waited for the average to go up and sold it for 90, like 3 months later. I'm like,
oh yeah.
So
you do that all the time.
Yeah. So you never know until afterwards, and then usually
there's no way of knowing when the right time.
Once
whatever
you
the right
sell
time is for you, right?
Once you sell a site, don't even look. Like don't look either way.
100%. So I'll jump in with the mistake. I think people try to start another site too soon, and they're like, "Oh, I have this figured out. I'm going to start another site." And there's so many examples. In fact, in the chat, let us know if you've done that. I have a hunch there's a lot of people. Or you're like, I want to just get another site started so it'll be ready in a few months. But even if you're only putting a small amount of time, you're still splitting your effort. And usually the people that do really well, they're so focused on like whatever it is they're working on, they ignore everything else, and they do a much better job of growing the one site. I feel like most of the time, I've probably never gotten a site to the potential that it should be, and I'm pretty focused. So I see people with 5, 6 sites, and they're like, all right, I have them all set up. I heard someone else did this, and then they do it every quarter and blah, blah, blah. And then it sort of fizzles out. And there's someone that I know that I think he got up to maybe like 7,000 or 8,000 per month. And then he thought, I have it figured out. And he actually did start like 7 other sites, hired a big team, and eventually his original site declined because he started neglecting it. None of the other sites really took off in the same way, and he would have been much better off just like putting all of the effort, because he published hundreds and hundreds of articles on all the other sites, and if he just would have put it on the one, he'd be way better off. And it's just, we get distracted. We hear about people like actually, there's so many people that have a portfolio of sites, but we hear about people with a portfolio and we're like, we got to do that. Like they're making like $1 million a year. We got to do a portfolio, but they're like 12 years in. It doesn't match up. The other thing is, I think people, they're like, I want to go from 1,000 to 10,000, and they want to do it in like 6 months or a year. It might take you like 3 years. I mean, it just depends on the niche and the amount of effort you could put into it. So what do you guys think about that stuff?
I think it's always tempting to start a new site, because starting a new site is exciting. It's interesting, isn't it?
Fun.
As with all new projects, you get excitement, you get buzz. But, you mentioned guys and gals that have got portfolios of sites and they're earning, tons of money. But when you probably look at their portfolio, you'll see that it's maybe just 1 or 2 sites that's drawing in the bulk of that income. And they have started all these other things, or they bought other sites. But it was probably their first or second one, the one that's doing really well, the one that's bringing in income that's kind of carrying them. And again, if they'd have just maybe got their writers and editors to work on that one site, it would have been a lot more valuable than starting other sites. But there was a comment just from Phil who said, don't sell your sites. They're way more valuable in the long run to you, which I think is a valuable argument, because I don't know if you've ever read Rich Dad, Poor Dad or any of those kind of books. They'll say that when you've got a valuable asset that's generating an income, you should probably keep hold of it rather than sell it. But what are your thoughts on this in terms of, should you just hold the sites if they're generating an income? Why on earth would you sell them?
Well, it's not real estate like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but
no.
there's a big difference. Like Adam's story.
He doesn't talk about real estate. He talks about investments and holding assets.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to, I've got a mixed portfolio, some which I hold long term and some which I flip and sell and turn around. And I think it comes down to what your investment decision is and what you feel comfortable holding for the long term. Like, what do you deem as a good quality site that will last the long term? So, for example, sites I typically would buy and move into my long term portfolio are sites that have already been around for a long time. I've seen that they've weathered all the Google updates over the last couple of years. There's been very little up and down. And to me, that gives me confidence that I can hold it long term, and then I can improve it long term. But on the flip side, there's other websites where maybe I don't see that, or it's a lot newer. It's only got 12 months of history or 8 months of history sometimes, but it's grown really quickly. And I think I can add value quickly and then sell it and realize my capital gain. Like those kind of sites, I don't buy for the monthly cash flow. If anything, I buy and reinvest that monthly cash flow into growing it over a short period of time. And then I sell just for the difference in sales price. So I think there's two viable options. There's definitely the long-term buy and hold, and there's sites in my portfolio I would never really plan on selling unless I had to. But there's other sites in my portfolio that I know I'm going to try and shift in the short term. So I think it depends on what your strategy is and what your plan is.
And it's obviously very dependent on the sites that you're holding. Some have got longevity and are worth holding on to. Yeah. But a lot of people would say that these investments and these assets are so high risk that why would you want to hold it? You want to kind of get the cash out as quickly as you can, I guess. I don't know. It's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I mean, yes.
Go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
No, I mean, some people say, like, you hear about these horror stories, and it does happen from time to time. But there's, like Adam said, if you've got a site that shows consistency over time, and it's still pretty reliable, and you can probably look to hold it for the long term, and you're pretty fine. It's those ones that, as long as it's a reliable and solid site, then I think you're probably good, even for like longer term. So I'd be fine with that.
You should sell it all and put it into real estate.
Yeah, and John Buckley says a website is virtual real estate, and I think one has to look at their whole like risk tolerance and your whole portfolio. So if you have like a bunch of let's say you have a bunch of like physical real estate rental properties, like you can have much more risky other assets, whatever they are. You got big returns potentially, but also, I mean, that comes at a cost and it's potentially risky. So you have to look at the whole package of like what you're trying to do.
I think in general, you've got to look past just online assets. You've got to look at where you're putting all your money. You've got to have a bit in real world stuff, in real world assets, property, that kind of thing. Then you might want to go some high risk stuff, websites, crypto, but then also some more secure stuff, stocks and shares, savings accounts. You've got to spread it, haven't you?
It's interesting you guys say that, because somebody asked me this question recently on another podcast, like how much of my own personal money is tied up in my website portfolio. And it's like 80% of my whole worth is in my website portfolio. But I just look now, and the highest, like one website, and it's the highest, is makes up 19% of my portfolio. Like it's not one website makes up 80%. The highest revenue, that the one website makes up only 20% of my revenue. And then the next lowest one is 16%. So I guess it comes down to like how comfortable you are with your portfolio structure. Like I wouldn't feel comfortable having 80% of my money in websites if I had one website making all of the money. Like, because if that goes, I've lost lost 80% of my wealth. But the fact that it's structured that way and it's spread over a portfolio of sites, all right, it would hurt if I lost that one website that makes up 20%, but I haven't lost 80% of all the money I own in the world, right? I've just lost 20% of that 80%.
Right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. And everyone's risk tolerance is different. So Chris is saying if it's, quote, done properly, it shouldn't be high risk. All this stuff is so debatable. And it just depends on if you came up through, let's say, like a traditional corporate route, or like your parents were real estate agents and like you're all about real estate versus, I mean, I love these websites and stuff, but I have a very, I would say, balanced portfolio, like overall when you look at everything. And I have a friend, I don't think the episode's out, but he was like an online entrepreneur as well. And he was taking crypto payments from like 2013. So wow. Most of he made a lot of money just working on stuff, but his crypto has blown up, and basically he dollar cost averaged into his crypto position, which is now, I mean, he loves the shit. So he's like really, I mean, I'm not even sure. If I had to guess, it's probably like, 90% crypto, and it's amazing the stuff he's doing. But yeah, just
to me, that's completely high risk. That is so high risk because crypto is so volatile. No one knows the future. Things could happen that bring a lot of the crypto to zero. 90% of crypto, that's crazy.
I love it because he would argue, and I think everyone's right. Like whatever you think is totally.
Yeah, if he's cool with that, if he can sleep at night, that's fine.
Yeah, and the thing is, so he's still making enough with his like online business that like he could live on that like really well. So it doesn't even matter. Like the crypto is just fun.
Yeah. He can live on the 10%, so the 90%.
It doesn't even matter. Yeah, but he's totally obsessed with it. Yeah, I agree. I've played a little bit with crypto here recently, but just.
It's like Chris was saying, risk and reward, isn't it? Like I think risk and reward of crypto, as long as you're putting in what you can afford, which this guy can, even if it is 90% of all of his wealth. The reward though, and the potential over the next decade is massive for crypto. So you got to be prepared to say, well, what can I afford, and is it worth the return? If it's going to 10x your money, like in the next 8 years or whatever, then is it worth putting some money into it?
Yeah, and he's like really only playing with his winnings now because like I said, he got paid in crypto like in 2013. So I don't even know what Bitcoin was at then. Like a few $100. It's like 40,000 right now. So anyway, all right. We do have a few questions in here. I encourage people in the chat to ask specific questions. If you're in a position where you're like, I've been doing this, you can give us a lot of details and tell us how old your site is, the number of posts, what you have been focusing on, maybe what you haven't been focusing on, and we can explore some of those details. I'm going to hop back and we'll answer a couple of the questions that popped in. So we have Tushar says, how much time does it take to see results after doing a 301 redirect of an old domain to a main site? When can I see traffic and rankings boost? So Mark, Adam, I know you guys have done a lot of testing with this. When you guys take that?
Yeah, I'll take that. And it's not going to be a great answer because it just depends. In all honesty, we see the effects sometimes being really quick. Like, I should clarify, really quick is like 3 to 4 weeks. You start seeing Ahrefs pick up those new referring domains. You start seeing that going up. You start seeing the DR in Ahrefs going up, and then usually you can see the effects on traffic then a couple of weeks after you start seeing that. But it can also take a little bit longer. Like that, I'd say, have in your mind like the shortest you should. The quickest you'll see results is a couple of weeks in Ahrefs, and usually when you start seeing those moves in Ahrefs, you see traffic increases a couple of weeks later if done right. So that's the caveat: if done right.
just to, I'm not quite sure exactly how the question was phrased again, but the if you're 301 redirecting an existing site, so if you're buying a site that already exists rather than an age domain, then you're going to see the traffic instantaneously that transferred over because you're 301ing all of that traffic straight away. So if you buy a site that's already getting 10,000 visitors a month, then you're going to see those 10,000 visitors straight away by 301ing that domain over.
Yeah.
All right. Alex, anything to add? I'm not sure if you have done much of this.
Not really, no. I can't really add anything on that. But yeah, if there was traffic on those existing links, then the 301 it should be instantaneous, as Mark said.
Cool. Okay. So up next is Blog Sprout, who says, what is your opinion on gaining traffic through informational posts, then direct the traffic to more affiliate posts through internal links? Is that a good strategy? So does anyone want to take that one, take the lead on it?
That's a perfect strategy. I do that all the time. I think it works pretty well. Especially, so for example, on my pressure washer site, it's perfect because people will be searching for, I don't know, how to clean aluminium siding with a pressure washer. So you do an informational article on how to clean your aluminium siding with your pressure washer. And then in there, you've got a perfect opportunity to link through to your article on the top 5 pressure washers to clean aluminium siding.
Okay.
So in the informational article, which is the how-to on how to do something, I tend not to talk about products. I'll just have like one link through to my product article, which will be the top 5 to do whatever it is that you're talking about in the informational article.
Perfect. And that's aluminum for our North American
Yeah.
guests. I think everybody, if you weren't sure, I thought maybe it was a Spanish word you picked up, but then I realized.
That's a great strategy for going after like higher paid affiliate programs. So, for example, the hosting space, like website hosting, we know certain programs pay a lot more than others. So, if you wanted to write but they're very high competition. So, if you found search volume for obscure hosting companies, you can write like a review. This is not information, but you can write a review on the obscure hosting company. But in that review, you could say, we don't really recommend them. However, we do recommend this program. So you can bring in traffic to like a low competition keyword and then redirect them to the better, higher paying affiliate program that way as well.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, actually, I've seen that with my course, actually. So someone wrote multi-profit site versus wealthy affiliate. And I was like, oh, that's weird, because it popped up in my feed or something. So I checked it out.
You're doing your own course as usual.
What'd you say? Yeah. But the thing is, I was like, this motherfucker never took the course. I was like, he doesn't even know, like, I don't even know who he is. He's not even on my email list or anything. So anyway, yes, it is a strategy in the wrong hands.
Are you going to tell us what he said? What did he say?
He was like, oh, wealthy affiliate is great. But, wealthy affiliate, everyone that I talk to, they're just like, yeah. Like, I don't know. Everyone was really nice, but, they just told us to sell wealthy affiliate. Like, it's such a MLM style.
Oh, is that the course? Basically just sell the affiliate.
Yeah. I mean, I think some people actually make it work, but yeah, it's a very mature like community and all. You've heard of it, right? Wealthy affiliate.
Yeah. So it's just a big old pyramid scheme.
I think so. Cool. Yeah. This is just entertainment purposes.
Yeah,
I think they're big enough.
It could be the best course ever. I've never seen it. But by Doug's course anyway, it's better.
Yeah. There's a little gnat flying around me down here. I don't know. You guys can't see that, can you? It's like I'm going crazy down here. I'm going insane. Trust me, there's a fly. Okay, Mark, you were nodding a little bit. Did you have something else to add here too?
What was the original question again? I was probably nodding.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
How to draw traffic in from the informational content to then direct it to an affiliate.
I'm not very good at it, to be honest. Like I'm a bit crap at doing that and moving them across. I'd be interested if you knew in analytics, kind of if you tracked how many times those internal links get clicked through to the affiliate pages. I mean, I'm sure. I think it's good, especially if it's high paying programs. You don't need many sales or conversions to do it. Makes sense to me. I think it's good for passing link juice to those money pages as well, potentially, if you can get some backlinks and stuff.
But you can always make
always good anyway.
Content anyway. You can put ads on that anyway, so that's fine. And I mean, everyone says Google hates affiliate sites. They hate pages with loads of affiliate links. So I guess it makes sense, doesn't it?
All right, a few more questions coming through here. Jason has a few here. He says, any go-to tips for increasing indexing ratio these days? So I'll jump in really quick. I just published a video where I published 47 articles all in one day, and it took like 1 or 2 days for them to index. The site's 18 months old, has a handful of backlinks, and it gets like 60,000 visitors a month, something like that. But I didn't do anything at all other than publish the content. And I know people are having indexing issues, but usually I think it's like a new site that's still in the sandbox. So generally I would say the go-to tip is just keep your head down and work and publish and get backlinks. The other caveat is I think most of the people that are having issues don't have very many backlinks to their site at all. They're like, I'm just publishing content blindly, ad nauseum for months because I hear other people are doing that. So you guys, you're a little more in the weeds, indexing issues. Alex, you want to kick it off and then we'll go around.
No. I don't look at it. I don't look at Google Search Console. I don't get obsessed with indexing. I don't look at which pages or posts have been indexed. I generally just focus on working on my sites, creating content. Google will come in, and I've never had any issues indexing. I just do what's good, and sometimes stuff takes weeks to get indexing, but I don't worry about it. Just keep going. People get upset. Again, this is the kind of thing that people get bogged down with, trying to get that one post. Why is Google not indexing this one post that I published the other week? Move on. Don't worry about it. It'll get indexed in a while. Just be patient. Patience is the virtue of this game.
Yeah. Mark.
There's something interesting on that one, and we're testing it, but I can't see how it's going to work. So I was speaking to someone on another podcast a couple of weeks back, and he was having issues indexing a couple of his websites. And someone suggested this to him, and he tried it. And it was basically to integrate with Ezoic, but not turn the adverts on. And that will help get indexed. And I was like, that can't work. And he said, that's what I thought. But he did that for the two sites. And within a couple of weeks, all the content was indexed. And we've got a client's website, which is there's about 100 pieces of content, and only 20-ish of them are indexed so far. So we're just doing that with them now, just putting it into Ezoic, not putting the adverts on, and just seeing if that helps. And I'll be really surprised if it did, but that's all I've got to add on that so far.
Man, Ezoic.
How the hell does that work?
Yeah, I don't know.
Ezoic indexing.
Yeah, I don't
You've
know.
got, there's a tool you were trialing out as well not so long ago, Adam.
Index Me, and it Index Me, but it uses the similar or the same API as Rank Math, the rapid indexing. And we talked a couple of streams ago here about the potential pros and cons. The tool does work really well. Like, I used it for a couple of really stubborn posts that just couldn't get indexed at all, and it did index them. But I'm hesitant to use it at scale just because you don't know the downsides of using an API that's not meant for that use. So I don't know. I wouldn't recommend it.
I mean, I don't bother either. Like Alex said, just crack on. Like, don't worry about it at the indexing time. I know that one way that people used to get it to work would be that you post something on social media with a link to the post, because social media is like real time, and like Google and others are kind of indexing that much more rapidly and much more quickly because they need to kind of get that information quick. So if you share something on Twitter, for example, the theory is that tweet will get picked up pretty quick, and then they'll head off to the post from that tweet as well and index that page. I've heard that as a thing if you really want to, but don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Unless you're really having issues, of course, but yeah.
Right. Phil says in the comments that all the indexing issues that he's seen are because of domain reputation, so that's kind of interesting. But because I've heard of people even that have registered new domains that have struggled with getting traffic from search and indexing issues, that when you really dig around and look back on Wayback Machine or do other kind of tools to look at the history, there can be something in the dark, distant past around a domain that can cause you problems. But if you haven't got that, then just crack on and it'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, so we're coming up towards the end, so we'll just take one person per answer coming up here. Jason also says, I have a directory website like Yelp, having a hard time in creating informational content for every customer. So any tip to create quality content on one niche over and over almost every day? Anyone have an idea?
Oh, wow. I don't know if this is still applicable. I'm assuming you mean like wedding photographers in and then just different cities. Like, so it'd be like the same wedding photographer in and then just the city's different. So like, how do you make unique content? And I don't have any tips for that. I did test something a couple of years ago with a customer that was in the wedding space, and we created a template, which was basically like cheap wedding venues in and then places in the UK. And it was very generic, like tips on how to save in your wedding, best times of year to get married, etc. And we just swapped out the name, like the place names. And that worked extremely well. But we went after really low competition. So rather than just looking at wedding venues in, it was like cheapest castle wedding venues in, for example, or whatever. But that like tripled the site's traffic within a short space of time. And it was scalable because it was the same template, just swap out the place name. This was a good couple of years ago now, though. So whether Google's caught up and sees that as duplicate content or not, I don't know. But I still see people talking in the local SEO groups about that kind of strategy working for local SEO sites. If you look targeting service pages in different locations and it working. So I don't know, potentially look at that. But aside from that, that's it.
And I have one tip, even though I said just one person per answer, I'll say it really quick. I assume the customer this is a B2B situation. So I think the customers are business owners. So I would say interview them, send them questions. It sounds like hopefully you have a lot of customers. You could interview different people on their staff, and just that's new, unique content. You could form it in some sort of like, how-to or helpful format. So it is a little bit better. Okay. And let's see, I think we had one follow-up about the 301 redirect. If I do a 301 redirect to a site which was hit by a Google Core update in December 2020, can I recover it after a 301 redirect from a niche relevant? It depends. We have no idea. Like, you could do it and it might work. It might not work. There's examples of both. So we don't know, unfortunately. Good luck. Let us know. Let us know if it works. All right. As we are winding down, are you guys good? Can you go over like a couple minutes if we answer all the questions? Everybody good? Okay.
Mm-hmm. While you're pulling up the next one, I can see that Phil said he'd like to create 2 or 3 sites in the same niche. Mark is literally doing this right now. We talked about it yesterday on the case study. He's got a site in one space and he's just launching another site in the same space. The site one's got about 400,000 visits a month, I think, Mark, is it? And this new one is going to compete with it, and you're going to see what happens.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. So.
And I interviewed a guy named Mushfiq from the website Flip. I think we all know Mushfiq, but he acquires a lot of sites, and basically he'll work out specific deals with the companies, so he has like better affiliate terms, and then he'll acquire companies in the same vertical so that he can instantly get more value. So as far as like creating a site, and I think there's some value in it, but I defer back to my focus on one site. Don't grow too fast. Like, take your time with your first site. I know no one will listen to me if I say that. It's like telling someone, not to try something. Okay. Bill says, is there a time when you consider, it's the same question here. Sorry, guys. All right. Tushar says, I published 54 articles on April 20th, 20 are indexed and blah, blah, blah. I have them all pinned. Okay. All right. Any more questions here? Did you guys see any more that I missed?
I don't think so.
All right. Oh, richest domains. Congrats on the crypto sell. You're trying to Oh, okay. They'll work it out on their own. Okay. Everyone, this has been amazing. We have a good audience. So, we could just keep talking ad nauseum. We got 70 people. I think this is the biggest on my channel so far. But we could hear what we have going on coming up or what you guys are excited about. Adam, why don't you go first?
Yeah, so tomorrow, every week, me and Mark do another 2 live streams. So on every Tuesday, it's Age Domain Tuesday. We did one yesterday where we covered a case study, and then we cover a domain that's in our marketplace, and we do a deep dive. And in this instance, we talked about the keyword research. And then on a Thursday, we also do the niche website investing show where we talk just about investing in websites in general. And Mark, I'm hoping that's you looking up the title for tomorrow.
Yeah, it's the Tomb Raiding one, isn't it? Building your keyword list for Tomb Raiding SEO.
Yeah, so tomorrow we're going to talk all about Tomb Raiding keyword research, how we do it, and we're also going to do an example as well and kind of look at that broken down. So that's what we've got going on. Anything else specific? We've got our building.empires.live event as well coming up in June, where both Doug and Alex are going to be speaking as well. So if you haven't got your ticket, head on over to building.live.empires. What's the other way around? What is it?
Building.empires.live.
It's so memorable.
Building.empires.live, yeah. For free ticket. There's loads of good speakers
so many
over
times.
3 days, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I guess the only thing is, like, next week, Niche Lifestyle Show is on the Niche Website Builders channel. And what we learned from making money online is a topic. So for next week. So, same time, different place on the Niche Website Builders channel, which I'm guessing Doug has in the description.
It is,
It
yeah.
does.
Got it. All right, Alex.
Okay, so something that Carl said to me the other day. So AI, but I'm going to bring it up again.
We nearly got through one episode.
Yeah, you're not going to get away with it. So rather than using these tools for yourself, imagine if there was an agency that could create your AI content for you.
Yeah, there is one.
Yeah, there is. I didn't know about it. It's called rocketcontent.ai. And I was going to order 100 articles, but now they've got a waiting list. So I don't know, the cat's out the bag. So they charge you $1,000 for 100 articles. And they'll also publish them to your site with an image and some stuff. I don't know. Is this taking AI to a whole new level of spam? I wanted to test it out just to see. I don't know. Have you had any experiences with it? Have you seen them in action? Has anyone seen any of this content?
I think that's what Spencer's doing, a similar case study, isn't he?
Yeah, I don't know. Was he going to create the content himself?
No, it's 1 million words.
Use the word spam as well. I think you've got to be careful using the word spam when you say these things. He said, I'm going to spam Google with 10,000 words of AI content.
No, it's 100. It's 1 million words of spammed AI content.
Was it 1 million words? Yeah. I don't think you want to use the word spam because any spam is bad, I guess.
Well, it depends. If you're using just the words AI content, then it's probably spam. If you're using human edited AI content, we're talking a whole different ballgame, right? And that's the difference.
Yeah, this is literally what Chris just said. Authority hackers, they've been testing it for 12 months, I think, in different aspects. And if you haven't watched the video, that's their conclusion. Like AI content, just pure AI content is horrible. AI with human editing is decent and has its uses, basically. So it depends on what AI are doing. I know they're extremely cheaply priced, right?
It's 1 cent a word, and if you order more, it's less than 1 cent a word. It's like 0.9 cents a word.
And owning a content agency ourselves, I would be hesitant to say that they've got real human editors, or at least human editors that speak native English, if they've got the price down to 1 cent a word. And that wouldn't even cover the cost of a native English speaker. So they must have done, I don't know what they're doing, but I'd be surprised if it came back as like decently human. I
bet it's I bet it's going through like Grammarly or a similar tool with non-native English speakers or something. I don't know. I'm just just brainstorming how I would do it. But Alex, you should start a service, man. If there's a waiting list, there's a bunch of people that want to buy this.
So this is the one paragraph that they have. Underneath where you order, they have this paragraph that says, the content is very rankable, whatever that means, scannable, I don't know what that means, but then it's got brackets, subheadings, human created, and reasonably readable. Readable.
Didn't it also say on the sales page, don't use this on your money site, use this on test websites and sites that you don't care about, pretty much.
Yeah, I got a feeling it's going to be a load of horrible spam, isn't it?
Yeah, this is all going to blow up, I suspect, because I remember, so when I got caught up with all the PBN stuff, it wasn't a private blog network, but I forget the company, but it was like, I won't mention specific names, but it was a lot of people that we like followed, and a lot of people were learning from these folks, and then they like had an agency and they were selling links and everyone was using it, and then like everyone got penalized. But basically either you got penalized or your site's like dropped in rankings because all the whole network was sort of unrecognized and de-indexed. And I don't know, it is tough, like per our conversations before, Alex, and with, if it's edited a little bit, it's like you can't really tell if it's just a bad writer or AI. And that's the equation that I'm using right there, like bad writer or AI. You would never you'd never be confused that is a good human writer. But
yeah, but I guess, the thing that we can tell is this article good or is it not good? Is it useful or not so useful? They're the main questions, whether it was written by a writer or AI. If it ticks the boxes on being useful and readable and good, then it's fine.
Sure.
Michael actually says in the chat, didn't Google make an announcement about AI content being against guidelines? Well, yeah.
Practically everything.
I did a little test last week, and we found out that AI content, if it is edited well, is not that detectable. And that's what it comes down to. I mean, it's all down to web spam. The Google web spam team, they're looking for content that's just horrible, crappy spam. And if that's what your content is, then yeah, it's going to be penalized. It's not going to do well on the SERPs.
Yeah.
It depends what you're aspiring to, isn't it, in your life and in your sites. If you're aspiring to poorly written, slightly crappy content, and that's what you want to do, fire away, But
this goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and that these are investments. And in order to eliminate some of the risk from these investments, the way you do that is by creating quality investments. And if you are creating sites with spammy, horrible content, whether it be through AIs or, I mean, I've just been working with some writer. He wanted me to send him some work, and he's just been creating horrible articles, really terrible. And it looks like all they're doing is looking at the competition, and maybe they're just kind of spinning them, and they're rewriting them badly. Non-native English speakers rewriting other people's content. It was horrible. And either way, AI or bad writers, if the content isn't good value, then you're building an asset that's kind of risky because it's going to fall out of the SERPs. But high quality content with maybe calculators or valuable tools or something that's really useful, that's going to last for a long time, and that's going to pay you off. So if you want to do it cheap and nasty, that's up to you, but it's not going to last.
Yeah, and back, full circle back to the early question. If you have a site that you built with AI, you're getting traffic, you're earning money, you sell the fucking thing. You sell it fast. Get rid of it. It's gonna, it's a house of cards.
Yeah. All right. If it's a quality site with quality content, hold it. If it's not so much, then maybe move on.
Okay. This is awesome, guys. So we got a jet, everyone. Thanks for the participation in the chat. I have a couple things going on. I have a few good episodes this week for the podcast, also on YouTube. But I talked to Christy, who I've been working with her for like 3 years, and she's hit sort of a rocky patch. So usually I'm bringing you these amazing success stories, but this is a very real story. She's struggling. The site's dipping a little bit, and you can hear what it's really like, 3 years in. She's still making like a full-time income, but she's like, you know what? Like, I'm putting this effort in, and I don't know if it's working or not. And she's getting a little impatient. So definitely check that out. And then tomorrow I have an episode. I believe tomorrow is Ariel, and we get an update from her. I have a few people asking questions. My courses and stuff like that, there's a link in the description here, and you could check it out. There is a link if you want to be notified for the live streams as well, so you can sign up for the email list, and you can get notified when we do these live streams. Next week, it will be on Niche Website Builders. So check out their channel. Be sure to subscribe. Their link is in the description as well. All the links are in the description. Just go to the description. If you can't find something, go there. All right. This is fantastic. Thanks, guys. We'll catch up with you next week, and we'll chat a little bit after we